On the console, navigate to the EC2 dashboard, where we'll be able to see our load balancer. We just opened it in a new tab. You can see we already have one load balancer. This is the right region that I'm using, Oregon. Our load balancer is here. If you click on it, you should be able to see the load balancer. If you can't see that link, the best way to view this will be to use the sidebar, scroll down until you reach the load balancing section, and then click on the load balancers link. It will take you to this page. Then from here, you can see our load balancer is active, and this is the DNS name. At this point, since we've installed the default backend, we need to make sure we have a DNS record pointing to this load balancer that will be shared with our other two applications. Once we create that CNAME record, then we can test the default backend, and then we can proceed and install our demo applications. Copy the DNS name, and remember our certificate used this wildcard domain. So for the DNS record, we need to navigate back to our DNS management console and just create this record. Our record will use a wildcard. For Route 53, it automatically completes for you the subdomain part or the domain part, so you don't have to type this in here. And then for the record type, we'll choose CNAME, and then for the CNAME value, we enter the load balancer's DNS, leave TTL as default, and leave routing policy as default, also simple routing. Then just create the record. Point of disclaimer: since we are using this load balancer across 3 applications, you need to make sure that you do not delete all the 3 applications at the same time. So that's the essence of creating the default backend, so that it can always be deleted last when we need to get rid of the load balancer. So once you delete all the other applications, you must always leave the default backend running so that it can retain the load balancer here. Once you delete all the ingress resources deployed that were using this load balancer, then the load balancer controller will automatically delete this load balancer. So we've added the record. We can view the status. So this is something good about Route 53. You can view the status of your record and see if it's in sync. If it's in sync, now you can test it. So you can see after a few seconds, it went into sync. So we can go back here, and since our load balancer is pointed to using this wildcard subdomain, we can load the default backend using any text here. You can enter any random texts like that, and it should be able to take you to the default backend. So this is our default backend that we just installed. Now, we haven't installed any other application on our cluster. We can check that when we go back to our terminal, but here you can load any random text, and it will be able to take you back to the default backend because there is no application to capture this. This is the first demo application. At this point, I wanted to show you that if we loaded the other 2 subdomains that we are planning to use for this tutorial, they'll all direct to the default backend because it's the only one that is capturing that request. So for example, if we were to use the game subdomain here, it will still take you to the default backend, and the same if we were to use the Bloom subdomain here, it will also take us to the default backend. So let's go back and install these 2 resources, and then we'll come back and test them here.